The air in the small kitchen is thick, charged with the kind of electricity that only exists between two people who have spent years perfecting the art of hating each other, or perhaps just perfecting the art of noticing everything the other person does. Jungkook's chest heaves, his breath hitching as he stares down at Jimin. Up close, the height difference feels like a weapon. He wants to push Jimin away, to reclaim the space he keeps barking about, but his boots feel glued to the linoleum. Stop trying. Jimin's voice is a jagged whisper, his eyes shimmering with a mix of fury and exhaustion. I've spent 3 years trying to stay out of your way. Jungkook, we're roommates now. I can't exactly evaporate. Every time you walk into a room, Jimin takes one more step, daring, reckless, until the toes of his socks touch the tips of Jungkook's boots. Is it because you hate me? Or is it because you're scared that if I get close, you won't be able to pretend I'm just a rival anymore? Jungkook's eyes widen. For a split second, the mask of the stoic, untouchable competitor cracks. He drops the spoon. It clatters into the pot of stew, splashing a few red droplets onto the counter. But neither of them blinks. You think you're so smart, Jungkook rasps, his voice dropping an octave. He leans down, invading Jimin's space until their foreheads are inches apart. You think you know what's going on in my head. You don't know asterisk, anything asterisk. Then tell me, Jimin challenges, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. Tell me why you look like you're dying. Every time we touch, Jungkook's gaze drops to Jimin's lips, then snaps back up to his eyes. The danger in his posture shifts. It's no longer the threat of a fight. It's the threat of a collapse. Because I can't think when you're near me, Jungkook finally confesses, the words sounding like they were ripped out of him. The anger, you see. It's me trying to keep my head straight. It's me trying to remember why we're supposed to be rivals. Instead of this, the silence that follows isn't suffocating. It's heavy, like a velvet curtain falling over the world. Jimin's anger vanishes, replaced by a dizzying sense of clarity. He reaches out, his hand trembling slightly, and rests it against Jungkook's chest, right over his heart. It's racing just as fast as his own. We don't have to be rivals here, Jimin says softly. In this apartment, we can just be people. Jungkook doesn't pull away this time. He leans into the touch, his shoulders finally dropping from their defensive stance. He lets out a long, shaky exhale, the tension bleeding out of him and leaving him looking younger, softer. The food is going to burn, Jungkook mutters, though he doesn't move. Jimin lets out a small, breathless laugh. Let it burn. I'm not hungry anymore. Jungkook's hand rises, hovering near Jimin's waist before he finally finds the courage to settle it there. It's a tentative hold, a silent truce written in the heat of a cramped kitchen. They aren't friends yet, and the years of competition won't vanish overnight. But as they stand there, amidst the smell of simmering spices and the hum of the refrigerator, the rivalry feels like a distant memory, and the plague of touch feels a lot more like a cure. The silence in the kitchen is no longer a battleground. It's a bridge. Jungkook's hand remains on Jimin's waist, the fabric of Jimin's hoodie bunching under his grip. It's the first time in 3 years that Jungkook hasn't pulled back as if burned. He's looking at Jimin, really looking at him, without the shield of a sneer or a sharp remark. You're always so loud, Jungkook murmurs, though there's no bite in it now. His thumb brushes against the side of Jimin's hip, a subconscious movement that makes Jimin's breath hitch. Your voice, your presence. It's like you're everywhere in this apartment. Jimin leans his head back slightly to meet Jungkook's gaze, a small, tired smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. That's called living, Jungkook. You should try it sometime instead of lurking in your room like a ghost. Jungkook scoffs, but it sounds more like a huff of amusement. He finally pulls back, but only far enough to turn off the stove. The aggressive bubbling of the stew settles into a gentle hiss. I don't lurk, I strategize. Strategize how to avoid me, Jimin asks, stepping back to give him some air, though his hand lingers on Jungkook's arm for a second too long. Something like that, Jungkook admits. He picks up a towel and begins to wipe the stray splashes of sauce off the counter, his movements much slower than before. The frantic energy has left him, replaced by a strange, heavy stillness. The rivalry had always been their armor. It was easy to compete for the best grades, the best positions, the most praise. It gave them a reason to watch each other without it being weird. But standing in the dim light of their shared kitchen, the armor feels too heavy to put back on. I didn't mean to snap, Jimin says quietly, leaning against the opposite counter. About the plague comment. I just couldn't figure out why you hated me so much when I was just trying to be a decent roommate. Jungkook stops cleaning. He stares at the damp cloth in his hand for a long moment before looking up. I never hated you, Jimin. That's the problem. It's a lot easier to be a rival when you actually dislike the person. The admission hangs in the air, thick and sweet. Jungkook reaches into the cupboard, pulling out 2 bowls instead of 1. It's a small gesture, but in the language of their complicated history, it's a white flag. He ladles the stew into the bowls, the steam rising between them like a fading ghost. Table, Jungkook asks, gesturing with his chin toward the small wooden table tucked in the corner. Jimin nods, his heart finally slowing to a steady, warm hum. Table. As they sit across from each other, the space between them is no longer a vacuum. They eat in a silence that is finally, truly companionable. Their knees occasionally knock together under the small table, but this time nobody jumps. Nobody glares. They just adjust, making room for each other in the quiet of the night. The rivalry isn't gone. They'll probably argue about whose turn it is to do the dishes in 20 minutes. But the fear is, and for now, that's more than enough. The silence of the meal isn't empty, it's a shared breath. But even as the tension eases, the reality of their rivalry still flickers in the background as they finish their food. The air in the kitchen shifts from heavy confrontation to something more domestic, yet equally fragile. Jimin finishes his bowl first, setting his spoon down with a soft asterisk clink asterisk. He watches Jungkook, who is eating with a focus that suggests he's trying very hard not to look back. The danger has passed, but the awkwardness is just beginning to settle in. I'll do the dishes, Jimin says, breaking the quiet. He reaches for Jungkook's empty bowl. Jungkook instinctively pulls it back. I've got it. I cooked. You shouldn't have to clean. It's a peace offering, Jungkook. Just let me do it, Jimin insists, his fingers grazing Jungkook's knuckles again as he tugs the bowl away. This time, Jungkook doesn't flinch. He lets go, his eyes trailing Jimin as he walks to the sink. The sound of running water fills the room. Jungkook doesn't leave. He leans against the kitchen table, watching Jimin's back. The sight is strangely grounding. Jimin, in his oversized hoodie, sleeves pushed up, humming a low, wordless tune as he scrubs the pot. "Hey," Jungkook says suddenly, his voice raspy. Jimin turns his head slightly. "Yeah, about what I said. About not being able to think when you're around." Jungkook looks down at his own hands, his voice dropping. "I wasn't just being dramatic.